Okay, in this video I'm going to make a responsive website based on a bootstrap CSS sheet. It's a pre-made CSS sheet with a lot of rules and guidelines for responsive web design. To prepare for this, I've created a root folder. Within that root folder I have an images folder with a bunch of prepared images. I've changed some of the names, some of the sizes, and it's always good to have your images prepared ahead of time. That's in my images folder within my root folder. Next I opened Dreamweaver, and I'm going to connect to my local site. So I'm going to say new site. I'm calling this one Biz. I'm going to look for that root folder. Mine's on my desktop. There it is. Choose. Then I'm going to go to my advanced settings, local info, and browse for my images folder. There's my images folder. Choose, save. Now I'm connected. In my files panel I can see I have my business site here and my images folder. If I ever want to change any of those settings, I can go back to manage sites and I can edit this and change any of those things I need to, or reconnect if I get disconnected. Good. Now I'm at the default view in Dreamweaver, and I'm going to open the properties window, the properties panel, and attach that to the bottom here. And go to my CSS designer panel, and I'm going to make that panel a little bit wider so I have two columns. It's just how I prefer to work. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but that's how I prefer to work and set up my workspace. Next, I'm going to make my first page. It's going to be our index page, new document, HTML, and this time we're going to use Bootstrap. Before we've used none, we're going to use Bootstrap this time. There's my Bootstrap CSS. It's the first page, so I'm going to create a new Bootstrap CSS sheet. There's some pre-made layouts, pre-built layouts. I don't want to use those, so make sure that is not checked. We also have some templates over here, and we're not going to use those. We're going to see how we can create Bootstrap pages from scratch. And let's say create. Okay, there's our first page. And let's save this. Save as. Once again, this is going to be our index page. And we'll see that Dreamweaver has created JavaScript, a CSS, and fonts folder. When you use Bootstrap, it does that automatically. And we're going to save our page at this level. Okay. Now, in some of our other projects, we've worked from the design side, but with Bootstrap, we work from the live view. We can still access the code view, the live view, or split. We can still access the design view, but it's a little harder to work in that view. Once in a while we may have to go to the design view for a couple things, but most of the time we will be working in the live view. Once again, I have my CSS designer in two columns. A new panel we'll use a lot is the DOM panel, and this lists the tags of whatever you have selected over here. It lists the tags, or HTML tags, and we'll see how we can work with that in a little bit. So here's our first page, our Bootstrap page. By default, it has the body in there. That part is selected. So let's look at the source code side. Looks like any other HTML document. HTML opening and closing, head tag, body tag. You'll see there's some jQuery information here and some JavaScript information already in there. We also have a link to that Bootstrap CSS already created with some metadata in there. That's the source view, source code. We also have the Bootstrap CSS sheet. You'll see this is write only. You can make it, this is read only. We can make it writable if we want, but we don't really need to at this time. We can override any of these rules we need to. You'll see there's, with the notes, about 6,760 lines of code, but we'll see how we can override some of these pre-made rules. We also have some jQuery JavaScript. I would not even look at those. Close your eyes, don't even look at that stuff. Don't touch it, don't change it. We also have the Bootstrap JavaScript sheet. So all these are made automatically. And let's go back to the live view. Good. Now if I click out here, I can see I'm selected on the body. And there's my body tags in the DOM panel. So if I click on something out here, it's also selected on my live view, vice versa. So we're on the body. Let's start inserting some elements. Let's build this website, this first page. Okay, the first thing I'm going to enter in is a container fluid, a fluid container. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see it puts it right in here in the body and select it, and with this little label saying that that is selected. Once again, if I look over at the DOM panel, there's my body, and there's my div container fluid. I can close any of these tags and open them and see the child and parent relationship of the tags. I would not mess with these script tags down here at all, but you can open and close the body tag. There's my div container. Okay, so now let's put some elements within that. First thing I'm going to put in there, now this order is just the way I'm choosing to order it. You can order it however you want. So you can watch this tutorial, follow along, or just take some notes and arrange it yourself however you want later. So I'm going to put in a nav bar. There's several versions. There's a basic one that scrolls with the website, fixed at the top, fixed at the bottom, or inverted, which gives it sort of a negative effect. I'm going to fix mine to the top. Now it's going to say, where do I want this code? I want to nest this inside that container. There we are. And I can see over here, once again, there's my container fluid, there's my nav bar tag. Now if I open that nav bar tag, it's in another container fluid, and there's a lot of different levels to all these tags. So each tag has all the children tag under there, child tags. Each section of this little navigation bar has other sections with your list item links. All right? So that's pretty much how the DOM panel works. You can open and close different sections. We'll see a little bit more about that later. So I have my navigation bar. Let me close that. I'm clicked on my navigation bar. Now whenever I want to add anything after or before an element, I have to make sure I'm at the highest level of that element. So that I'm at the highest level of my nav bar. If I click down here somewhere and try to add something else, that would be within the nav bar. So I want to make sure I'm at the nav bar level before I add any other elements.